Hi everybody, and welcome to today's video, which is going to be my 2025 priority TBR. So the snow has started to fall where I live. Well, not only has it fallen, but we've had a full-on snowstorm, which has been crazy. But that just means that it's time for me to stay inside and start planning my 2025 reading year. And I figure the best way to start is to work on my 2025 priority TBR and figure out what exactly I want that to be. So I put together a list of 10 books that are my priorities to get through in 2025, and they're all sequels, which is something that's important to note because I'm in the middle of something like 39 series and I really need to be getting through some of them. So every book on this priority list is a sequel, as that's what I'm really trying to focus on in 2025. They're not in any particular order, and they're all on here for some reason or another. Some of them are books that I've been putting off for a while, and I'd really like the motivation to get through them. Some of them are books that I'm really excited to get to. So I want to make sure that some of them are stuff that I'm actually excited to get to. That way, at least at the end of the year, some of them will be knocked off the list. And then some of them are series that I haven't quite decided if I want to finish or not. So I have a few sequels on here where I need to try to get through them to see if it's a series that I actually want to continue or not. So I think we can go ahead and go through the list. The first book on my priority TBR is Our Dark Duet by Victoria Schwab. This is the second book in the Monsters of Verity duology. The first book was The Savage Song, and I read it a couple years ago, and I remember really enjoying it. It follows Kate and August, and they live in this world that's overrun by monsters, and the magic of this world is music. So I remember, I believe it was August played the violin, and he was able to harness magic through that. And both Kate and August are heirs in the city. Their parents are important people in some way, which make them important people by proxy. And it's their story meeting each other and the hostility between them, and them having to fight as the world is overrun by monsters. So mainly what drew me to this series, not only that it was written by Victoria Schwab, but mainly the music aspect of the magic. Anyone that doesn't know, I am going to school for music education. Music is a really big part of my life, and I absolutely love books that have anything to do with music. And to have a magic system based around music was really what drew me to this series. And I remember enjoying the first book pretty well. So it's definitely something that I'm really excited to get to, and something that I just kind of need the push to get through in 2025. The second book on my 2025 priority TBR is We Free the Stars by Hafsa Faisal. This is the second book in the Sands of Araria series. The first book is We Hunt the Flame, which follows Nasir, who is the prince of the country where the story is set, and then Zafira, which is she has disguised herself as a hunter, and she is she gathers all the food for the small village that she lives in, and they're kind of dependent on her. But the main feature in this world is there's an island that's set in the middle of the country, or in the ring of countries where the story's set. But surrounding the body of water is a dark forest called the Ars, and it's slowly creeping in, and everywhere that the Ars touches, things start to die and decay, and it's really dangerous. People lose their minds inside of this forest, so Zafira has to go through because they think that there's a magical artifact that's on the island that will help get rid of the R's, and she's able to go through it without any problem. So she is sent by someone to go and retrieve this artifact to hopefully get rid of the forest before it creeps into the main parts of the countries. At the same time, Nasir, the prince, is also sent by the Sultan, his father, to go and retrieve this artifact. And they don't know about each other or that they're going to be on the island. And they have to work together once they get there. And there's a little bit of a love story. It's really twisty. There's a lot of surprises that happen throughout, and I really enjoyed it. The first book ended on a big cliffhanger, so I'm really excited to get to this one and knock out another series that I've really enjoyed. The third book on this list is Aurora's End by Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. This is the third and final book in the Aurora Cycle series. The first book, Aurora Rising, follows a boy named Tyler Jones, and this is all like a comedic space opera. It's YA though, so it follows Tyler Jones, who's in the this space academy, and on the day of graduation is the day where each of the pilots get to pick the teams that they will leave the academy with. And right before graduation, he gets a message that there's something floating in interdimensional space, and it's kind of strange. So he goes and finds Aurora floating around on a ship in interdimensional space with like no real memory of what happened to her or why she's there. And so he brings her back to the academy, and he's late for graduation, so he gets like the last pick of crew. So he gets like the rejects that no one really wants. And the story follows Tyler Jones and his crew as they try to figure out where Aurora came from and what her mission was and what this has to do with all of them and for the world as a whole. I'm so excited to finish this series. I've been putting it off for a while. I really loved the first book, and then the second book fell a little flat for me. But I do think the redeeming feature of this series is all the characters are really quirky and they have very unique character voices. It's very comedic and fun, but also has like the action that you would expect from a space opera. So I'm really excited to be able to put this one on the list and give myself the final push that I need to finish out this series. So the fourth book on this list is Bloodmarked by Tracy Deonn. This is the second book in the series by Tracy Deonn. I don't remember what the series is called, but the first book is called Legendborn, and it follows Bree Matthews, and it follows her after her mother has died in an accident, and she ends up getting accepted into this program at UNC for gifted high schoolers, and she goes and witnesses a magical attack. She doesn't know anything about magic. She doesn't know that it exists. And so she's like swept up into this new world of magic and meets like some mysterious people. I really liked the first book. I found it a little confusing. The magic system is based off of King Arthur, and it was a little bit confusing to me when I read it. But I think if I continue in the series, I'm sure that I'll get more answers. But I absolutely loved the story and the characters, so I'm like, even if I'm a little confused, I am willing to continue with the series and finish it out. I know there are 3 books out currently. I'm not sure how much longer this series is going to be or if the third book is the final book, but either way, I'm super excited to continue this series and hopefully finish it out this year. The 5th book on this list is The Dream Thieves by Maggie Stiefvater. This is the second book in the Raven Cycle series. The first book is called The Raven Boys. This is one of those series that I didn't the first book was just okay, and I didn't have the immediate push to pick up the second book. And now that it's like been a couple years since I read it, I'm not sure if it's a series that I actually want to continue. So I have The Dream Thieves on this list, so that hopefully I read it and can decide whether it's a series that I want to continue or one that I'm okay with not picking up. This book follows, I think it's four boys, and then Blue, who is a girl, and she um, meets these four boys that are in this prep school, I believe. Um, and there's like clairvoyance and searches for ley lines and like ghost stuff. I don't remember because it's been a couple years and it's not one that like really stuck to me. There's a lot of details that are just kind of fuzzy. So when I do get to this one, I will have to look up a recap of the Raven Boys. I do remember the reason that I didn't really enjoy it was I felt that most of like the characters all kind of read the same to me, which could have just been a me problem, but I didn't really feel that they were very dynamically different from each other. And I found the plot to be a little confusing. There was a lot happening, there was a lot of action, and I don't remember a lot of places where there wasn't anything going on that I could like catch my breath and like really think about what just happened and like let it sink in. So I need to get to the sequel to decide whether it's something that I want to continue or whether the problems that I had with the first book are problems that are going to persist. So this will give me the nudge I need to like read it and figure out what my thoughts are on it. The sixth book on this list is Cursed by Marissa Meyer. This is the sequel to Gilded, which is a... I actually don't know. I think it's a new adult. But it is a Rumpelstiltskin retelling. And the first book was actually like a really big disappointment, actually. So I absolutely love Marissa Meyer. I rated every one of the Lunar Chronicle books. They all got 5 stars. The Renegade series from her all got 5 stars. I absolutely love everything she writes. I had just read Heartless, and I thought that was okay. I think that got a 4 star. And then I read Cursed, or I read Gilded, I mean, the first book. And I think it got a 3 star, and I was like so devastated. I felt that it was very slow. And one of the things that I really love about Marissa Meyer's stories are the humor and the fast-paced action. But I felt that this story was very beautifully written. Like the prose were gorgeous. It was very flowery. It was descriptive, and that's not really what I was going into it. Those aren't the expectations that I went into it with. I was expecting like witty humor and a fun fairy tale retelling, and that's not really what I got. So I don't think it was really any fault of the book. It was more my own expectations, but still, because like I was a little disappointed, I didn't immediately reach for the second book. So that's why it's on this list. I need to get to it and finish up the series. I think it's only a duology. I could be wrong, but I think that Cursed is the last book in the series. Maybe it won't be, but either way, I need to read Cursed to form my thoughts, and hopefully it's just I went into it with the wrong expectations. Hopefully that when I get to this one, I'll go in with like proper expectations, really know what I'm getting myself into, and hopefully I'll enjoy it a lot better than the first book. The seventh book on my list is A Heart So Fierce and Broken by Bridget Kemmerer. This is the second book in the Cursebreaker series, the first book being A Curse So Dark and Lonely. I really liked the first book. It follows Harper, who is a girl that lives in New York City, I believe, and she lives with her brother and her mother. Her mother is like very sick, and her brother are doing like everything that they can to get the money to like get her what she needs to get well again. And they turn to some not great avenues of getting income. And one day she comes across this man that is trying to kidnap a girl, and she like tries to stop him and ends up getting taken to a magical world where she meets Prince Ren, who is the prince of the kingdom that they end up going to, and he has been cursed to repeat the same year over and over again, and he only has a certain amount of time to repeat it in which he has to fall in love. And if he doesn't, then the enchantress that put a spell on him, I think she gets to take over the kingdom, if what I remember is correct. So it's a Beauty and the Beast retelling, but I really enjoyed it, and I think the reason that I really liked it is, like, we see a lot of Beauty and the Beast retellings, A Court of Thorns and Roses, which I did love, but what I liked about A Curse So Dark and Lonely was that it kind of took a different spin on it, in that she comes from like our world, very modern, uses modern language, and he lives in this like fantasy kingdom. So the way that they communicate is so at odds. While in other retellings, they're like from the same world, so they talk the same way, and while like they don't have the same amount of information because of their difference in status. In this one, there was a very clear like communication class or communication clash, and I really enjoyed that. It wasn't cut and dry like so many other retellings, and I really appreciated that. So I'm very excited to get to this one. This is one of the ones that I'm just like really excited to get to, and I wanted to put it on this list so that I'll at least have read a couple of these by the time we get to the end of the year. So this will definitely be one that hopefully I get to within the next couple months, actually, because I'm really excited about it. The 8th book on my priority TBR is Silverborn by Jessica Townsend. This is the 4th book, I believe, in the Nevermore series, which is a middle grade series that follows Morgan Crow, and she's a cursed child, which means that she's supposed to die on the eve of her 11th birthday, I believe. And so she is waiting for this fate until she stumbles on a man whose name is Jupiter North, and she goes to this event where all the children go, and they have people that offer to take them on as apprentices, and she goes. She doesn't think she's going to get an offer because she's supposed to die on her birthday. And Jupiter North puts a bid on her, and on the eve of her birthday, he whisks her away to Nevermore, which is a magical place, and she gets put into the Wondrous Society, which is a school where they teach you all about magic. And the series is full of like different magical creatures, and it's just such a fun time. It's compared to Harry Potter, which I definitely see because of the magical school. And it's one of those stories that even though it's a middle grade, like there's something in it for every age group, and it's just like a really comforting, like magical story. So I have been waiting for this one for a couple of years. The release date keeps getting pushed back, and I do think that it's finally been finalized for this year. So as soon as it comes out, I'm hoping to immediately snag it up and read it. So it'll definitely be one that I'm getting to this year, as long as it is actually released this year. The 9th book on my list is Kingdom of the Blazing Phoenix by Julie C. Dow. This is the sequel to Forest of a Thousand Lanterns, which is a YA fantasy series. It is an Evil Queen retelling, and I read the first book quite a few years ago, so definitely when I get to this one, I'm going to have to like possibly reread the first one, or just look up a summary and make sure I remember like all the details and what's going on. But this book follows an 18-year-old girl. It's in a fantasy kingdom that's definitely inspired by an Asian culture. But she knows that she is destined for greatness. She believes that she's destined to be the empress of this country. And she grows up as a peasant, so like that's not really something that anyone believes is ever going to happen. Her mother doesn't believe her, but she knows that she's destined to be the empress. And one day she has the opportunity to go to um, the like main city and to work for the royal family. And so she jumps at this opportunity, knowing that if she gets there, then she can find a way to do whatever it takes to become empress. This is a story with morally gray protagonist, as she like is willing to do anything to accomplish what she believes is her destiny. So I remember the first book, the magic isn't a prevalent part of the story, and it's more about the politics and the relationships between the different characters. But there definitely is some magic, and I believe there were some like magical creatures, but that wasn't like heavily. That wasn't a heavy aspect of the story. I do think that in the second book we'll probably get more explanation of the magic and how that's going to come into play as she tries to come about her destiny. But I absolutely love the first book, and I'm really excited to get to this one. I really have no clue why I've been I don't know why I've been putting off picking up the sequel, because I loved the first book, and I believe it was on my favorites list on the year that I read it. So I don't know what's been keeping me from picking it up, but this year will be the year that I hopefully finish out this series. The last book on my priority TBR is The Dragon Republic by R.F. Kuang. This is the sequel to The Poppy War, which follows a girl named Ren, and she always has known that she wants to go to this prestigious military academy, but in order to do so, you have to take this test that shows that you have the strategy skills and the abilities to succeed. And she ends up completely acing the test. No one really knows like how she does it. Nobody believed in her, but she does. So she ends up going to this academy, and no one really likes her. She has to figure out like how to fit in within this context of like people that are above her class. They grew up with privilege, and she has to figure out how to fit within this academy with all these people that she has never had to deal with before. There's political intrigue, there's war, there's rebellion, there's magic, there's all kinds of things going on in this series. The first book ended on a bit of a cliffhanger, if I remember right, but I don't remember the exact details of it, so I'll probably read through a summary of the Poppy War before I start this one to really make sure that I'm starting this book off with like vivid details of what happened in the first one. I enjoyed the Poppy War. I didn't absolutely love it. I think it got a 4-star, a low 4-star. It was a bit confusing, but I did. That's probably just because when I read it, I did audiobook, and I've learned more recently that when I do fantasy audiobooks, I also have to be reading along so that I make sure I'm catching all the character names and the details. Otherwise, things start to get fuzzy. So, with this one, I'm definitely going to make sure that I'm tandem reading it and reading it along with the audiobook if I choose to go that route. But I do really want to finish this series off in 2025. It's a beloved series that everyone raves about, so I'm definitely excited to finish it off and figure out what my thoughts are on it. So we've come to an end of my 2025 priority TBR. I'm really excited to get to most of these books, and even the ones that I'm not super excited to get to. I'm ready to have a conclusion, figure out what I'm going to do about the rest of the series. So either way, like I need to get to these books, and I'm going to be prioritizing them throughout the year, and trying to get them on my TBRs as we go along. I really hope you enjoyed the video. Please let me know what some of your priorities are in 2025, what you plan on reading, any series that you want to finish, just what your general reading plans and priorities are for this coming year. Please subscribe if you enjoyed and like the video, and I think that's going to be it from me. Bye.